When we added MDMA,
What will you do?
went up to 61%.
Hell yes.
But I saw a bird that morning.
You made the first blues in 200 years.
Wherever you go, there you are. I grew up in Beaverton, and I moved to New York City after high school for college. I was out there for nearly 10 years with stays in Europe, Vermont, and Ithaca before I felt called back home to the Pacific Northwest. After an epic 3-month road trip, I found a job at a company I really wanted to work for in a town that I had driven through but had never explored. I'm talking about Salem. Wherever I end up, I make the most of it by finding places and moments about it that feel special to me. Urban sanctuary is a way of looking at the world from big cities to small towns. And I want to share with you some ways to categorize and recognize sanctuary in hopes of helping you find it and foster it every day. We all already find sanctuary in the built environment every day, from a woodshop in our garage to a coffee shop or even the bathroom at work. I spent a semester in Rome, Italy, and was going to travel around Europe afterwards for the summer. And I'm a bit of a planner and a list maker. So I took my tiny little notebook and I made a calendar of everywhere I was going to go, major destinations. I didn't really worry about what I would do once I got there, but as you can see from that map, I followed it exactly. This idea of structured flexibility, where I kind of create a structured plan and then I have some flexibility, is something that I have in every aspect of my life. In design, structured flexibility creates the opportunity for creativity because the constraints foster creative problem solving. In my career, I find this mostly when I'm designing floor plans and when I'm designing decorative flooring patterns. These are the parts of my job that I have loved the most, and they're kind of like a puzzle where there's guidelines but no image of what the final product has to look like. When I was traveling through Europe, I went to Amsterdam, and I walked out to the end of this long pier to go see a building that I had only seen in books and magazines. It's called Silo Dam by the Dutch firm MVRDV, and it looks like a bunch of different building types stacked on top of each other, and it's also reminiscent of a cargo ship stacked with shipping containers. So I was caught off guard outside this apartment building when I was sitting on the back deck, and I felt what I can only describe as a spiritual moment. I was really present in the moment. I just felt pure joy and happiness for looking at this interesting building and looking at the details of how it was made. And it kind of started this idea of urban sanctuaries or spiritual feelings in secular places. The whole time that I was traveling, I was trying to capture these different ideas through photography and sketching of what I was experiencing. Some people experience sanctuary when they're in nature or in a traditional spiritual space. But for me, it comes from walking through cities and exploring the details of the built environment. So, as an organizer and list maker, I wanted to make it into something that I could reference. So I came up with 5 different types of urban sanctuary that exist in all different times, at different scales, and in different mixtures. And they are relaxation, isolation, security, reflection, and contemplation. Relaxation has to do with the path and speed of travel. So it's getting from A to B, and instead of going the quickest way possible, it's exploring and taking your time. Maybe taking a side alley or walking to explore a little bit more. It can also come from just taking a wild walk and figuring out whatever excites you and just following that path. Even the structure of a space, like a curved walkway, can encourage you to slow down by not being a straight shot to the front door. Isolation comes in 3 different ways: either vertical isolation, horizontal, or audible. Vertical isolation can come from being sunken down, like a sunken couch in a living room, or vertical, like being at the top of a tower. Horizontally, isolation can means being horizontally off the main path of travel, and that can come from a change in materials or the addition of a fence or screening in either a wood fence or it could be plants. Audible isolation is something that I relied on a lot when I was in New York, where I would just put on headphones and walk down the street of a city of millions of people, but get that isolation that I desired. You can also get audio isolation from a park in a city with a water feature that provides white noise. Security, in terms of sanctuary, means feeling comfortable and secure, and this comes in two ways: from the degree of enclosure of a space and also from the lighting, both daylighting and artificial lighting. In an atrium, for example, it's more enclosed, so you have this feeling of security from not being just out in the open, and that gives you the chance to explore and look around the details of the space. You might also have a fully enclosed building that has lots of windows that provide a really interesting ambiance that just with details that capture your attention. Even in a tunnel, you might have really interesting artificial lighting that provides something of interest to look at and help you feel secure in this space that you're in. Reflection has to do with what you're seeing. It can both be in a framed view out a window or the structure of a building and what it's oriented towards, and it can also come from art and displays of different building elements. Sometimes it happens by chance. Just you're walking along and you see a really interesting view and it's framed in that moment. Photography is a great tool for reflection because you're capturing moments that are special to you that maybe nobody else has ever seen. Sometimes things surprise you, like art up on a wall, when if you're not looking around, you wouldn't necessarily see it. Other times you'll have a memorial where there's a single opening just looking right onto the memorial that really focuses your attention. Sometimes it's art with a lot of different things or building elements that's really minimalist and simple. The last one is contemplation. This one's my favorite, and it has to do with texture. The texture of both the buildings and the ground surface. These are the doors of La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, and the doors are cast of metal with all these different words on them, and the detail of that is what draws me in. I love looking at the details of things, and the more intricate the detail, the more I want to just sit and look at it. Even a building can have a different rhythm or pattern to it that just draws in my attention, and I capture it. Sometimes the paving or the ground surface can either have a mosaic or even cobblestones, which provide texture but force you to slow down. Sometimes the buildings have an interesting texture that capture your attention and make you think twice about what you're looking at. The way that a place is represented and drawn influences how you experience it. This map of Rome was created by Giambattista Noli in the 1700s. It was done as a figure ground study, which means that the civic areas were drawn in white, which included Roman temples, churches, piazzas, and city streets. And then the private buildings were pochade in black, really showing you the connection of all the spaces. So for me, when I saw this map before going to Italy, I experienced Rome as being all connected, this idea that the spiritual space of the churches spilled out into the streets and really influenced the way that I experienced not only Rome, but cities thereafter. Being inspired by this map and these ideas of sanctuary and how they're represented and captured, I decided that I wanted to create my own map. So this is a map of Salem, and it's capturing all the different places where I feel relaxation, isolation, security, reflection, and contemplation. Now, if you were going to make your own map, you probably would have a different medium than me. This is how I see things. No matter where you go, there's opportunities for sanctuary, but we all find sanctuary in different ways. So whether you're a poet, or a quilter, or an engineer, or a doctor, I would encourage you to explore the place you're in. Some people think that the grass is greener in another city, but I say tend the grass that you're on. Explore your city or wherever you happen to find yourself and find moments that feel special to you. So I would encourage you to take these ideas and use photography or whatever medium you see fit and seek out sanctuary in your own city and share it with us on social media. If you use these hashtags, it gives us all the chance to see what you see through your own lens. Thank you.